While high levels of crime, a depleted police force, citizens demanding action, with New Orleans facing that troubling combination, the NOPD and its new interim superintendent, Michelle Woodfork, are using proactive policing to put pressure on the bad guys.
Yeah, but as investigative reporter Mike Perlstein revealed last night, arrests are only the first step in the justice system, and pending charges don't always keep a criminal defendant from picking up new ones.
Tonight, in part 2 of our series Bailout, Mike looks at one frequent offender whose restrictions were actually loosened as she racked up fresh new complaints.
New Orleans District Attorney Jason Williams, a career criminal defense attorney, took office in 2021 as a reformer. But as a prosecutor, Williams quickly learned that the system to keep the city safe is only as strong as its weakest link.
Criminal justice reform does not mean letting people out of jail. It means holding them accountable and putting them in jail.
As we've seen in some high-profile cases, that weak link is sometimes bail low enough to allow repeat offenders to stay on the street without any restrictions as they await trial. For example, John Honore, now facing a murder charge in the carjacking that cost 73-year-old Linda Fricky her life, had racked up 7 arrests and 25 separate charges before he turned 18, but was not kept in custody.
It's frustrating because the police officers keep arresting the same kids over and over again. They look at it as a revolving door.
There's also the case of Kenny Landix, a 20-year-old released on minimal bail restrictions after 4 felony arrests in 3 months, before police say he escalated to armed robbery in January. He is now being held on a bail of $250,000. Frustrated New Orleans police officers have now taken to social media to track bail amounts for suspects they arrest multiple times. Even Jason Williams is shifting his stance. His office remained neutral at bail settings right after he took office, but now prosecutors are requesting bail increases for certain repeat offenders.
And bail needs to be set on the basis of the not just the offense, but the offender's criminal history and the danger that they pose to the public.
Ebony Williams qualifies as a repeat offender. Her rap sheet shows multiple convictions going back to 2009. Those led to several stretches on probation in both Jefferson and Orleans parishes and at least 2 prison terms.
She just did not want to comply with what the court had ordered her to do.
Jill Dennis should know. As the operator of the electronic monitoring company ASAP, Assured Supervision Accountability Program, Dennis and her company have kept tabs on Williams through an ankle bracelet after recent arrests for home invasion and domestic abuse. In those cases, she's accused of breaking down a door, beating a woman, and threatening victims with a knife and a gun. Due to her criminal history and multiple missed court appearances, Williams was rated as a 5 out of 5 on the risk assessment matrix used by New Orleans Criminal Court to help judges and magistrates set appropriate bail and conditions. That led to this recommendation for Williams of, quote, maximum supervision if released.
Believe that in this case, when you look at that list of charges, that Ms. Williams definitely is someone that should be monitored.
So when Williams was booked again last year with domestic abuse, aggravated assault with a dangerous weapon, her bail was set at a relatively low $2,000, but strict supervision was ordered in the form of an ASAP bracelet, curfew, and multiple stay-away orders. The restrictions didn't appear to slow her down. Twice she was arrested for violating those stay-away orders, most recently in November, but each time was released on the same conditions.
But the fact that the judge put a curfew on her and she wasn't abiding by that curfew.
So the police did their job. They followed their policies and best practices, but the judge didn't do his job.
That judge is Daryl Durbany, who has presided over Section J for more than 20 years. ASAP sent reports to Durbany whenever Williams violated the conditions he imposed. Durbany even responded on January 12th by issuing a, quote, zero tolerance policy for Williams. But all of that changed 6 days later, when 3 different bail companies who bonded Williams out of jail surrendered those bonds, dropping her as a client as too risky. Durbany did an about-face. Court records show he reduced her accumulated bail amounts from over $20,000 down to $800. Prosecutors objected, but Durbany stuck to his decision. Williams promptly paid her new lower bail and was released again.
This type of poor decision-making is reflective of a judge that is either negligent or indifferent.
Judge Durbany took his position one step further. Court records show he released Williams from her ankle monitor. The records don't reflect the reasons Durbany gave for reversing himself, and he has not responded to calls for comment. Criminal justice watchdog Raphael Glayanetti of the Metropolitan Crime Commission called Durbany's decision indefensible.
So this ought to be something that the Louisiana Supreme Court takes up to determine if there is judicial misconduct. They can institute an investigation based on the information that you're presenting.
I reached out to Williams' attorney, Rudy Gorel, but he declined comment. Williams was due back in court on February 2nd, but court records don't reflect what happened or if Durbany even held court that day. We'll continue following the case and others as we continue our in-depth coverage of the New Orleans criminal justice system. Mike Perlstein, Eyewitness News.
And while the records don't show any new court appearances by Ebony Williams, they also don't show any new violations. Her next step is a pretrial conference on the long list of charges compiled against her.